Well, thousands of mourners have queued to say goodbye to the former South African president before his body is flown to his hometown, where he'll be buried on Sunday. And one person with very special memories of Mr. Mandela is former Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Fraser, and he joins us now from Melbourne. Mr. Fraser, now you knew Nelson Mandela when he was still in prison. Tell us about your first meeting.
In the first meeting, we were waiting for him in a guest house just outside the prison. He wasn't in prison clothes. He'd been given a proper suit and whatever. He stood tall and spare, looked you straight in the eye, and the first thing he said to me in a formal way, "Mr. Fraser, can you tell me, is Donald Bradman still alive?" And I mightn't have expected that. But I later took a bat too and gave it to Nelson Mandela, signed by the Don in recognition of a great unfinished innings to Nelson Mandela. That was the first thing he said to me. Lord Barber, Ted Heath's Chancellor of the Exchequer, was also with me. And he said to Lord Barber, "I have a very special message for your Prime Minister, Mrs. Thatcher. I have read somewhere that she has said she can do business with President Gorbachev. Would you please tell her it would be very much easier and much safer to do business with Nelson Mandela?" And this was at a time when President Reagan and Prime Minister Thatcher were calling the ANC communists and terrorists.
And sir, you were behind actually getting the South African government to talk to the ANC. Just describe how difficult that was and what role Mr. Mandela played in that.
His role was absolutely critical. The government knew it had to do something, it had to change. But initially it thought it would be able to maneuver a negotiation to get an outcome suitable to it. And that's why I think it took a year or two to come to the party into a real negotiation. Because the more we travelled around South Africa, the more people said, no, we can't update the Freedom Charter. We can't do it without Mandela. Of course we support Mandela. And where the government, the Afrikaner government, had believed that their own country was a nation of disparate warring tribes, as we went around, we found, no, they are not divided warring groups. There are several groups, if you like, but all united behind Mandela, all wanting to support Mandela, even Chief Buthelezi wanting to support Mandela. And for somebody who'd been in jail and out of touch for 27 years and suffered enormous hardship, to have established that reputation from the confines of Robben Island was a quite extraordinary achievement.
Mr. Fraser, you were then finally able to give Mr. Mandela a signed cricket bat. Just tell us briefly, if you would, about that.
Well, that was the bat from Donald Bradman. He was obviously a great cricket lover, and his first question to me was about Donald Bradman, not about the mission, not about discussions with the government or his other colleagues in the ANC. Mandela's character, his presence, I've known no equal. Some people have described him as the greatest or one of the great people of the last century. I don't really think that's true. I think he was the greatest person of the last century, and I wish we had a few Mandelas today to scatter around in critical places, and then we'd have a little less trouble in the world.
Malcolm Fraser, former Australian Prime Minister, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.